Maybe you had the foresight to see these NFL cuts coming. But if we went back in time to talk to a past version of you, maybe 2021 you, maybe 2019 you, but there's a past version of you that would have been shocked, maybe even appalled by some of these cuts. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like these are the end of the world. A lot of these players got picked right back up on the practice squad. It's not like their careers are officially over, but they're in the phase of their career where they learn that the dream you always had in reality got some nightmare elements. I know we're all up to the latest news and we followed all the trends, so nothing can surprise us. We saw it all coming. But today I want to talk to that past version of you. Put him on the phone. Let me talk to him real quick. Kadarius Toney. About a year and a half ago, this man was literally setting new Super Bowl records. The first round pick had just turned 24 and had seemed to find his new home for the foreseeable future. But things would take a drastic turn just a few months later, which led to him getting Jazzy Jeff out of his new home. His path up to this point hadn't really been the straightest, and I guess all them twists and turns had him a little dizzy. Kadarius Toney grew up in 8 Mile, Alabama, a town called 8 Mile because it's 8 miles from Mobile. When he was 9 years old, a tank at the Mobile gas factory got struck by lightning. It's called the Mobile gas factory, but it's located in 8 Mile, and when it exploded, methane gas spread through the whole city. The contamination can cause respiratory issues. Everything from headaches and nausea to low sperm count took place in 2008. As recent as 2021, 8 Mile was still dealing with the aftermath of this problem. This is the place Kadarius Toney hails from, and to think he made it all the way from there to here. In high school, dude was a dual threat quarterback. Not a running quarterback, bro. Nah, I said dual threat. He passed for 3,600 yards and 37 touchdowns. Plus, he rushed for 900 and scored 16 on the ground. Oh, and by the way, that was his junior season. And then the next year as a senior, damn near identical. The 3-star prospect went to the Florida Gators as a quarterback at first, but was moved to receiver. His athletic ability got him on the field as a freshman, but he never truly learned the craft of his new position. Throughout his college career, he never produced at an elite level, and his breakout season wouldn't come until his senior year of college. 70 catches, just under 1,000 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Really damn good, but that's 1 year of production. He gained a few yards on trick plays and in the return game. He really fit the gadget mold from day one, to be honest. But the New York Giants drafted him to be a number 1, a role he only held for 1 year of his whole damn career. I mean, up to that point, remember, quarterback in high school, played all 4 years in college, but didn't break out to the last year. And it's not like a quarterback where there's only one of them on the field. He was on the field, but didn't produce at a top level until that last year. Given his talent, he still had a chance to become a true number 1 with the New York Giants. But shoddy quarterback play, bad offensive line, he needed a better situation if he was gonna accept. That's when he got the chance of a lifetime. He was traded to the Chiefs, the best quarterback and the best offensive coach in the whole league, with a ready-made role that he can fit right into. Things were going pretty good, as Toney was one of the biggest reasons the Chiefs won Super Bowl 57. He set the Chiefs up to win a 1-score game when he broke the record for the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. But while he broke a record in Super Bowl 57, before Super Bowl 58, he broke everything else. First day of training camp, he tore his meniscus, then made it back for the season opener just to drop 4 passes, including one that bounced off his hands into the hands of the defense and went for a pick 6. Later in the year, he cost the Chiefs another game when he lined up offsides on what would have been a big play. And the former quarterback threw another pick in the very next game. This was a really bad year. After that, the Chiefs deactivated him, supposedly for a hip and ankle injury. He missed the last 3 weeks of the season and the whole postseason, and the Chiefs just won another Super Bowl without him. During that postseason run, dude hopped on Instagram, where everybody knows only good things happen, and he aired out the Chiefs and kind of aired out himself, insisting he wasn't injured, but the Chiefs just decided not to play him. I remember reading about that. Does he think that makes him look better? Sometimes you just gotta know when to shut the up. He finished the whole season with 200 yards, and now teams know it had nothing to do with you being hurt. When he was drafted in the first round in 2021, I didn't know enough about him to assume he'd be cut in 3 years. But the past version of me watching him clutch it out in Super Bowl 57, that FlemLo is shocked. Today's video was sponsored by Football Head Coach. Football Head Coach is a football management game. You know, the type where you can build your own roster. The game has an official license from the NFLPA, therefore you can manage your favorite players. This is my current roster, so yeah, I'm looking to upgrade. You can be the best strategist in the world. You need some Jimmys and some Joes. Now you can upgrade players in 3 different ways: via trade, buying players on the transfer market, or you can do it by purchasing packs. Alright, so let's go down to the store, man, and cop a couple packs. Offensive guard, rare gold, 87, he's a beast. Who is this? Quinn Nelson? Sam Cosme, okay. We also got my boy Cheeto, got a 78 speed Gibbs, Clowney, Christian Hayes. Alright, I'm not mad at that. Why my preparation level bad? Check out my opponent, okay. Oh, we better than them. Let's get it. Send my highest overall player to my roster. I didn't do that? It wasn't lying. My preparation really was bad. Alright, so here's a quick look at the updated roster. We got a couple weak spots, but that's where the right strategy comes into play. Alright, so I think the best lineup for my team is to go with shotgun with 1 back. I got 2 solid tight ends, so we're gonna rock with that. I really want to be balanced. There, 62. Got my offensive and defensive strategies locked in. Alright, we gotta train up Bo Nix. Situational, dog. Young quarterbacks, you know. Open up with the first down. Alright, come on, Bo. Come on, Rook. Hey, let's see. Man, give me that. Yeah, them couple of little upgrades make all the difference, bro. Bo Nix going crazy out here. Touchdown, come on. First and 10. Whoa, got sacked. Come on, O-line. Don't try to get it all back in one play, dog. 3rd and long. Go for it. Go for that. Let's see. Bo Nix went absolutely stupid. I'm messing with it, man. We got our little rewards. Let's eat. FAC also features a weekend league where you can get dope awards a lot better than what I've got here. Thing is, you got to qualify during the week in order to access the weekend league. It's dogs only. Football Head Coach 25 is free to download via the App Store or the Play Store. If you're interested, man, use the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description to download the app. Shout out to Football Head Coach for sponsoring the video once again. And without further ado, let's jump back into the video. There's some version of you, maybe he didn't exist long, who is absolutely shocked that Desmond Ridder got cut. It was just 2 years ago when it was considered a surprise that he quote-unquote fell down to the 3rd round. A 4-year college starter, 2-time player of the year, went 12-0 as a senior and made the college football playoff. The 4-team version, by the way, at Cincinnati. I know the defense was nice, but damn, that's impressive. As a senior in college, he threw for 3,300 yards, 30 touchdowns, and just 8 interceptions. And he could run. 355 on the ground, 6 scores, and that's the lowest of his career. Once he measured in at the combine and the attributes were real, 6'3" frame was real, the QB speed was real too. He was projected as a 1st to 3rd round pick, and he happened to go at the lower part of the spectrum. Now, as far as on the field, I'm no Desmond Ridder fan, and there's actually only one main reason I was shocked he got cut. And I ain't talking past me, I mean the current version of me was sitting there like, damn, they cut Desmond Ridder? The reason I was shocked that the man got released just a couple years after being drafted was simple. The Falcons had already given up on him being the starter and traded him to the Cardinals, who already have an established star. So from the very beginning of the trade, that is, Ridder was there to back up Kyler Murray. So for him to lose the battle to be a backup against Clayton Tune, no disrespect to Clayton Tune, but I found that kind of shocking. Desmond Ridder's mom gave birth pretty young. His dad wasn't around, so his grandma put the football in his hand. Not to put their business out, but it's on the internet and he's talked about it multiple times in interviews, and it's not a big deal unless you a messy mother. But since his mom was 15 when she gave birth to him, as a younger mom, she was less strict than most parents. The positive of this was that Dez had a level of independence. He was given a pretty high level of freedom to learn things on his own. Now, this can go either way, but in this case, it worked out well and he matured faster than most kids do. As a quarterback early on, this maturity was more than enough to supply him with the leadership required. This would help make up for some limited ability, and it would actually carry him a pretty long way. As a high school senior, he only threw for 1,300 yards, and he was a two-star prospect going into Cincinnati. Again, he had limitations as a player, but leaned on his maturity, which allowed him to succeed on the college level. Later on, those limitations would be magnified in the league. That college leadership wouldn't really translate, because here, if you don't perform on the field, at the end of the day, ain't nobody gonna follow you. But again, he had a great college career, and while most people probably didn't look at him as a long-term NFL starter, there were those who did, and even those who didn't, I'm sure assumed he could be a really good career backup. Which is not a bad thing. And it's not abnormal for a third-round pick, because while we call it backup, dudes like Chase Daniel call it pick a bag up. But think about it, bro. A 4-year starter supposed to have a high floor, is laid back, doesn't have a big personality that would threaten the starter. That fits the mold to a tier 1 backup to a damn T, if you're asking me. But after a disastrous year where I personally watched him turn several surefire touchdowns into turnovers, I expected him to shake back once the pressure was off. Look at Zach Wilson in Denver, Mac Jones in Jacksonville. The guy he lost his spot to, and shout out to Clayton Tune, started one NFL game where he threw 2 picks, no touchdowns, and that's the depth of his experience. So I expected Desmond Ridder to win that job. Also, one last thing that's important to note, I've already noted it, but it's important for me to say it one more time. Ridder was a 3rd rounder, not a 1st round pick. So his contract with the Cardinals wasn't anything crazy. He just flat lost the job, man. Smoked the open layup. Carl Lawson. Next up is Carl Lawson. You never would have guessed this, but I'm a Bengals fan. Years back, I remember getting flamed on Twitter. Not me personally, just Bengals fans in general. All because the Bengals let Carl Lawson walk. They replaced him with Trey Hendrickson, who people said at the time was a product of playing opposite Cam Jordan. One reporter called it the worst move in that entire Bengals offseason. Of course, in hindsight, it's probably the best free agent move that I can remember the Bengals ever making. But just because it worked out for us with Trey Hendrickson doesn't mean anybody expected things to go so bad for Carl Lawson. When he left Cincinnati, he signed a 3-year deal worth $45 million with the Jets. At the time he signed the deal, he was 26 years old, just entering into the prime of his career. But after only playing one healthy season of that 3-year deal, he was on the market once again. Now, it's not shocking that he wasn't able to cash in after coming off yet another injury-riddled season, but it's kind of wild that even on a non-consequential contract, he still couldn't make the Cowboys' initial 53. Carl Lawson is a 2nd-generation athletic marvel. His dad, Carl Lawson Sr., was a running back at Georgia Tech. His focus was more in the weight room than on the field, though, and he put up some numbers back in his day. He squatted 675, bench pressed 470, and could power clean 386 pounds. After college, he went full-time into the world of bodybuilding until 2003, right before Team Universe Nationals. He felt a little sick, so he took a power nap. Then he woke up in a hospital bed. He'd been diagnosed with a deadly condition. The condition wrecked his kidneys and they put him on dialysis. He had to be on dialysis 3 days a week for nearly 5-hour sessions hooked up to the machine. First, he lost his muscle mass, which he'd worked so hard to build, but over time, he would start to lose much more. He eventually started losing his will to live, but he kept fighting, not for himself, but for his son. So this is what Carl Lawson leaned on in his career as he goes through his own physical trials and tribulations. He remembers what his dad went through and how he handled himself, how he fought, and how his son was his reason to keep going. So during the toughest times of his life and career, he draws inspiration and energy from that. We're talking about a former consensus 5-star recruit. He had the ability to be an NFL All-Pro, but injuries have piled up since his college days and followed him into the league, never letting the man breathe. But despite his inability to stay healthy long-term, I figured teams would still love to have a rotational piece with this type of pedigree on not an expensive contract. I thought there'd be enough demand to where he wouldn't be getting cut. Now, of course, they cut him to bring him back on the practice squad, but if he had the leverage that I assumed he did, I don't think he would have been subject to that without the Cowboys having to fear other teams snatching him up. Because in 2022, bro, his last healthy season, the dude recorded 8 sacks and 49 pressures. This is the best sack total of his whole career. He's really only 1 year removed from that. Obviously, I don't know what he looked like in camp, but past and present me were both pretty. Louis Seen. Safety Louis Seen was born in Haiti, and like Ritter, his mom was a teenager when she gave birth to him. Due to the respect that he had for what his mom had to endure at such a young age, Louis wore number 16 as a tribute to his mom. It's not something he hides from, he uses this as motivation. At 4 years old, he left Haiti for America, hoping to find opportunity for a more promising future. Just a few years later, he was introduced to football. That was the opportunity. My boy had found it. By his junior year of high school, he was the best defensive player in the state of Massachusetts. His high school went 12-0 and won the state title, something that would become a trend for the young prospect. After a quick pit stop in Texas for his senior year of high school, where he was coached by Coach Prime and won another state title, he went on to play for Georgia, and in 2021, the trend would continue. He won another title. This time it was the title, the national championship. Not only that, he was named defensive MVP of the game. He showed up to the combine with all the measurables you want. 6'2", 4'3", 37-inch vert. Now the Vikings could have taken Kyle Hamilton but decided to trade back. This was considered a fine move, as some people had Louis Seen as the #1 safety on their board. If Hamilton fell, cool. If Seen fell, great. Seen fell to the Vikings and they ran to the podium to draft a prototype safety at pick 32. It had been a long journey, man, from Haiti to America, Massachusetts to Texas, Texas to Georgia, now to Minnesota, and he'd found that opportunity that he'd come to the US in search of. He wrote his name on a sheet of paper and his family had made it. 11 mil is signing. But I hope he spent it wisely, because unfortunately it could be the last big payday that the young man ever gets, because before he got a chance to get his footing in the league, he suffered a compound fracture to his lower leg. This injury ended not just his rookie season, but it basically ended his career in Minnesota. It took 2 separate surgeries to fix all the damage, and now 2 years later, he's still not all the way back. So last week, the Vikings released their first-round pick from just 2 years ago. On the night he got drafted, how many people really thought, man, in 2 years, dude is getting cut? If you did, you a hater, but you happen to be right. But if you don't got proof, you a hater and a liar. But his NFL journey isn't over just yet, as the Bills wisely decided to take a flyer on the supremely talented 24-year-old. Maybe he can stick over there and find a role for himself, and maybe shock us again, but in a good way.